Let's get into today's episode of Why We Succeed.
As you mentioned, you didn't necessarily have anybody that kind of walk you through the process of becoming a business owner, but I'm curious, is there anybody who spoke into your life that encouraged you to, continue to pursue business? Is there anybody who played a pivotal role along your journey that you're like, yo, I'm so glad I had that person at that time to give me that word?
There have been several people along my journey. I thank God. One day, this was years ago, I made a post on, I think, Facebook or something, and I said, every single time I've wanted to throw in the towel, God has sent someone to speak into my purpose. Wow. And I am so grateful for that. So there have definitely been key people, too many to name, but it's so funny. As soon as you ask that question, there's one young lady, I don't even talk to her anymore, but she said something to me that has always resonated in me. And she said, because I was going through a very hard time in business. And this is before I even launched this publishing company. It was during one of those other ventures, probably the Sweet Treats one. And I was like, you know what? I'm over this and I'm ready to move on. I was like, this entrepreneurship thing is hard. Maybe I should just go back to work. I hated my job, but it was, it was easy to get a check, so maybe I should just go back, Yeah. And she said, let me tell you something. She said, let me ask you a question. And I said, she said, are you the first entrepreneur in your family? And I said, yes. She said, okay, so going back to what I just said, I want to create generational wealth. She said, you're creating generational wealth. So you have to understand that with creating and establishing generational wealth, you're in an immense spiritual war. Wow. You are going to experience warfare like none other because you are building from the bottom. You're building from scratch. Nothing has been laid for you. And so with that, I need you to ask yourself the question, do you want to just roll over and let the enemy have his way and you just succeed to what he desires? Or do you want to plow through and push through and get to the other side and see your dreams and your visions manifested? Right. And ever since she said that to me, every time when I'm ready to be like, you know what, it's a wrap on this, I go back to her words like, no, because I don't like to lose. So I'm definitely not losing to Satan. Okay. Right. I'm not doing that. So I got to push through. And so it just along my journey. And I thank God for that. He has positioned people strategically for those moments when I'm just ready to give up and they can always speak life. And so now it's gotten to a place where I don't even need that anymore. I've learned to encourage myself like David. Like I just got to encourage myself. I got to encourage myself. And it's like I've had enough prophetic words spoken over me. I've had enough of that. So sometimes, and I got them recorded. So I go back and I listen to those words and I pray into those words and I allow the Lord to minister to me so that I can get back into position. Because you're all allowed a moment. We're all allowed a moment to get down, but you cannot stay there. You got to get up, dust yourself off, and keep it moving.
That's real. That's real. And I'm curious, how impactful has your husband been being by your side throughout this process?
Everyone knows when you first launch a business, baby, you're not rolling in the dough, okay? It's not like it's just raining from the skies, not raining dollar bills, okay? So I appreciate my husband for even supporting me in that aspect that, he gets up, he goes to work and he's making sure that we have health care and he's taking care of his family. And I love that. So we've been, of course, financially supported. But even more than that, he has just been that emotional support and that my husband has a lot of ideas. He's a great idea generator. So I can go to him and share like, okay, this is where I'm stuck. And he's like, well, what about this? What about that? So he's been very, very supportive and he speaks life into me all the time. Like even he's able to see, he's like, look, babe, don't give up. Don't give up because God, he's like, man, what God has planned for us, he like us. Cause when he do it, I walk off this job, okay?
Right, that's real.
He's like, I'm coming to manage. I'm coming to manage for you. and I'm all good with that because I recognize, just the sacrifices and things that he has made for us. And so I'm so grateful for the life partner. And I think I shared this on Right to Real Love before that, you know, there was a time where in my mind, I thought, you know, we all, and my husband and I was just talking about this, we all think, you know, we're dating someone and that's the one and we're going to marry them. And I remember being in a situation like that and just devastated because it didn't work out. And I remember, you know, when I met my husband and I didn't even really know he was my husband right away. And then God spoke to me and said, this is the man you're going to marry. I'm giving you somebody for where you're going, not for where you are. Like, and so I was stuck on trying to, you know, be with people for that moment. But God said, honey, baby girl, I know what I have planned for you. And so you need someone who can push you through that, who can support you and sustain you to where I'm taking you.
Right.
And he has absolutely been that person.
I love that. Yo, shout out to your husband, man. Yo, he definitely deserves it. Now I want to switch to your daughters. I know every parent is different. This is why I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you kind of plant the independent entrepreneur, business owner bug or seed in them? Or are you like, you guys kind of go your own path, you know, allow yourselves to blossom? Are you like, what approach do you take as a mother when it comes to business and your girls?
You know, that's a funny question. So let me say this. I'm kind of both. I'm both.
Okay.
And let me explain why. So I have 3 girls. So my oldest, she's almost 16. Then I have a 14-year-old, and then I have a 9-year-old.
Okay.
So my 14-year-old, the middle girl, Genesis, she's very entrepreneurial minded. Okay. And most people look at her and say she's the most like me. Like she moves like me. She wrote and published her first book at the age of 10. So yeah, she wrote and published her first book at 10. Yes. When I left Pizzazz, which was the Sweet Treats company, she had learned the trade. She learned how to do stuff. She learned how to run the business from behind the scenes. So she took over for a while. Okay. So she was running that business even when I walked away.
Wow.
Yeah, and she was like 12 or 13 or something. Like, I don't know. She was young.
I love that.
And so so she was running that. So then my youngest daughter, she's like, listen, yeah, because she's all into YouTube. She's like, hey, I'm ready to monetize my YouTube channel. What do you think about these lip glosses? When is my book coming out? So we're actually working on her book. She'll be the second children's book coming out. So she's but then my oldest, so this is why I said I'm kind of both, because I did plant that in them. But my oldest is like, I don't want to do any of that. I just want a job. Like, she's like, this looks stressful. And so I'm allowing her to be free and be independent. But at the same time, every time she like finds something, a little niche that she likes, I'm like, you know, you can make some money with that, right? You know, you can turn that into something. So she did go and get licensed. She's a certified babysitter through American Red Cross. And so that's how she's making her money now. I was like, see, you're an entrepreneur. And she's like, oh, okay. I didn't see it like that. So I'm trying to shift her focus so that she can see that, you know, when you take what you have, what you know, and you put a price to it and you make money, you're an entrepreneur, you know? So that's all. So I'm kind of both. I'm not trying to push it, but I am planting the seeds. Like, you know,
I love that.
Well, what about this? What about that?
I love that. I love that. And you said your second daughter's name is Genesis. What are your other 2 daughters' names?
The oldest is Charisma. And then the youngest is Kai. I am big on names. So I really thought long and hard. Their names have a lot of meaning. Charisma should have been Kai. I mean, should have been Genesis because she was the first, but her name actually was,
you know, like,
Genesis.
if you want to get technical, right?
Yeah, her name actually was Genesis, but then I saw a box with the name Charisma, and then I just began to look it up, and it was like, you know, the spiritual side is a gift granted by the Holy Spirit for the good of the church, and that's why we get the charismatic gifts. So I was like, every time I call her name, and that's why I tell mothers, those of you who are expecting or having a baby one day, choose purpose, because every time I call her name, this is what I'm speaking over her. So I want to speak life. I want to speak love. I want to speak abundance, whatever it is. So choose your names wisely.
Yeah.
And even with
That's so
Kai, the
important.
youngest, let me tell you, her name, I chose it because Kai means, I think in Japanese, a sea, and then her middle name means grace. So I was like a sea of graciousness. But as I began to do, once she got into the hospital, I told you she had to have open heart surgery. It was a long process. My child stopped breathing on me here at my home one time. Like, it was a lot. Yeah, it was crazy. And
that's scary.
It is the scariest day of my life. Okay. But praise God, she is still here. She is 9 years old.
Yo, God is so good.
Yeah, but I said that because her name, Kai, as I began to research, Kai means so many things in so many different languages. And so one of them is like unbreakable. One of them is sturdy and strong. And so every time we spoke her name, we were calling her these things, even when she was sick. So that's why it's so important to choose a name that has meaning and power and purpose. So true.
So true. Like, names are everything. Everything. Because you know, like, whether people believe it or not, you know, like, I believe like there's energy attached to everything. And, you know, there's, at the very least, I'll put it like this. Scripturally, we know that there's power in our tongue and the words that we speak. So however you look at it, energy, the power of our speech, you know, there's so many different things that we know exist that let us know everything that comes out of our mouth is doing something. It's doing something either good, it's doing something bad. But when you name your child something that has such a powerful meaning, every time you speak their name, you know, it's calling that thing into existence. And like you mentioned earlier, purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Why We Succeed. If you value relationships and believe they are the true key to success, be sure to subscribe. To watch this full discussion and gain access to exclusive content, join our Patreon today. The link is in the description. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the next episode.